Welcome back to The Lawyer You Know. Today we are breaking down the end of the eviction moratorium. As we're starting to get used to since COVID hit, everything is fluid. And while we believe this eviction moratorium is going to end based on the Supreme Court's ruling, Joe Biden has come down saying the CDC is actually going to input another moratorium and freeze evictions again. 4 locations with the highest rate of COVID activity, which includes almost the entire state of Florida, although he admits that it's not likely to pass constitutional muster and is likely to get struck down by the Supreme Court again, because they have already said that they feel like the CDC is overstepping its bounds and overstepping its authority in continuing this moratorium endlessly and in perpetuity. So what does that mean for us? It means we are going to have to continue to keep track of this situation. We're going to have to listen to what the president says, what the legislature says, and what the Supreme Court says, because as we explained in the video previous, the only way to continue this thing legally and constitutionally would be for the legislature to write a law that extends this eviction moratorium. And as it sits right now, it's becoming far too common that each different branch of government is at odds with another. The president is making these executive orders, which are laws and could be potentially overstepping his authority and stepping on the power of the legislature, who's there to make laws. And then we have the Supreme Court reining it in, telling us what's constitutional and what's not. And there's never been more controversy about who's supposed to do what and who has the power to do this, that, and the other. So we're going to go through and actually break down what Joe Biden said about this potentially new and additional eviction moratorium. Let's start the clip.
The answer is twofold. One, I've sought out constitutional scholars to determine what is the best possibility that would come from executive action or the CDC's judgment. What could they do that was most likely to pass muster constitutionally? The bulk of the constitutional scholarship says that it's not likely to pass constitutional muster, number one. But there are several key scholars who think that it may, and it's worth the effort. But the court's already ruled on the present eviction moratorium. So I think what you're going to see, and I want to make it clear. I told you I would not tell the Justice Department or the medical experts or scientists what they should say or do.
So we're going to stop it right there. So he admits that most people, most constitutional scholars and experts say this is not going to pass muster. But there are a few that say it might. That's not usually how you make your decisions. If most of your advisors say something's not going to work or something's not constitutional, you would think maybe I shouldn't do it. But he's disregarding that at this point, and there's a reason why, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. And this is something that happens all the time in legal cases and in politics. But he also just wants to throw out there, I think this is probably a shot at Trump. I'm not telling these scientists or these legal experts how to do their job. I'm telling them to do their job, report to me, and then I'll make the decision of what I think is best.
So I don't want to get ahead. The CDC has to make this. I asked the CDC to go back and consider other options that may be available to them. You're going to hear from them what those other options are. I have been informed they're about to make a judgment as to potential other options. Whether that option will pass constitutional measure with this administration, I can't tell you. I don't know. There are a few scholars who say it will, and others who say it's not likely to. But at a minimum, by the time it gets litigated, it will probably give some additional time while we're getting that $45 billion out to people who are, in fact, behind in the rent and don't have the money.
So there it was. That is the linchpin of this episode. He says, we're going to do this, and by the time it gets litigated, even if it doesn't pass constitutional muster, even if the Supreme Court strikes it down as they did the last moratorium, we are going to get time while it's litigated to help the people that need to be helped, to give out that $45 billion that we talked about in the last video that's been earmarked for this rent assistance. We're going to give ourselves some time. We're going to do something we know is going to lose, but it is going to give us time. That happens all the time. especially usually by defense counsel in plaintiff's personal injury cases that I am usually on the plaintiff side. Defense counsel will do these things. They know they're going to lose. They file these motions. They ask for these extensions. They know they're going to lose, but delay because they think that benefits them. So Joe Biden is using these legal tactics in order to cause a delay to implement something he thinks is necessary. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, and maybe it is necessary. It's just very interesting to me to see politicians and to see lawyers use these types of legal tactics knowing that they are going to lose just to cause a delay and to implement something they want to do, even though they know it's unconstitutional. He's not the only president to do this. He's definitely not the only politician to do this, so I'm not slamming him for it. I'm just pointing out that politicians do stuff all the time that they know is not constitutional in order to implement something that they feel is necessary. Let's keep listening.
That's why it was passed in the act that we passed in the beginning of my administration, and it went to the states. We were under the impression that the states were moving this money out relatively rapidly. So, for example, if I'm in an apartment, if you're in an apartment, and you're behind on 4 or 5 months rent, and let's say your rent is $2,000 a month, I'm just making this up out of the blue, and you're behind, you need $10,000 to catch up. Hardly anybody has that $10,000. But there's money that the states have that can give to the landlord that $10,000 to the back rent. The future rent, it's unlikely, at least the hope is, since they have been made whole to that point, that they'd be inclined, because the economy is growing, inclined not to throw someone out in the street, keep that person, no guarantee, keep that person in the apartment, keep the kids in the same school district, and count on being able to have the opportunity for that person to be able, who may now be employed, to pay their rent.
So that's important. It's what we broke down in the last episode. The $45 billion is supposed to be there to help people get caught back up so they can go out and get jobs and continue to pay their rent, continue that relationship. Like he said, stay in the same school district for their kids. So that back rent is being paid off with the government funds. The problem is the states just aren't implementing it fast enough, is what it seems like Biden is saying. And there's also, I think, an important thing that he's saying is, just because the rental assistant pays off that back rent does not guarantee that the landlord has to keep you in as a tenant. So if all your back rent is paid off by this government assistance and then you stop paying rent in the future, the landlord can still evict you. Even though they collected that money for back rent, it does not protect you going into the future. And I think that's really important to point out for your edification, for everybody out there trying to figure out how this is going to affect their situation. Biden is correct in how he points that out. Just because your back rent may be paid by government assistance does not guarantee you future protection in your place of residence.
But in the meantime, I've asked that, is there any safety valve we can put in? And it's the one I explained to you. Again, CDC will announce that and the details of exactly how it works. I'm not telling, I told them I want them to take a look. I didn't tell them what they had to do. And my hope is it's going to be a new moratorium that in some way, and I'm not going to announce it now, let them announce it, in some way covers close to 90% of the American people who are renters. And so that's all I can tell you now. Thank you very much.
What's the difference?
Because it's a, let them explain that to you, okay? I don't want to get too far.
So he said, he's not telling the CDC what to do, but he hopes that they're going to come down with something that's going to protect 90% of these renters in the high COVID areas so that we can make a new moratorium. And he keeps saying a new one, not continue the old one, because the old one has already been struck down as unconstitutional for the Supreme Court. So legally speaking, the loophole would be to create a new moratorium, which is likely to happen because Joe Biden and the CDC have been working together to get this out. And even though they know they're going to lose, they're going to create a grace period here where people can continue to live under that eviction moratorium. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this is a good idea or bad idea? And how do you feel about politicians and lawyers using legal tactics for delay to implement things that they want? Please subscribe to our channel. It helps us out. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you think about our videos, because we love to get the engagement. We love to get the interaction. Like this video if you like this content, and we'll be back with you next time. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.